Hello, this is Michael Feeley, and welcome once again to my podcast, The Secrets of Da Vinci, which I hope that you've enjoyed so far. What do I have in store today? Well, again, lots of seemingly different things, but as I always say, they are all the same. They all relate to the same theme, they all relate to the same message. So, to begin with, I'll just briefly cover Nikola Tesla's 369. He once said words to the effect of, "If only we understood the magnificence of 3, 6, and 9, we would have a key to the universe." So what did he mean? Again, let me just use my whiteboard as a visual aid. So what it means is really base 10 mathematics, which is also called vortex mathematics. And we have the words 0 to 9, which give us 180, which relates to a triangle, and pi. Now, when you draw a diagram of vortex mathematics, it goes up to number 9 because you have the 0, which is in the middle. So it is 0 to 9. Now, when we look at the positions of the numbers 3, 6, and 9, they form a triangle. Now, the triangle is the secret origin of the universe because it is the first shape to be birthed from the Vesica Piscis. And there'll be a lot of information about the Vesica Piscis in this podcast. So it is a source code and a set of instructions for universal creation. So 369 is a triangle within vortex mathematics. And a little bit later on, I will go into how the triangle is pi and how it also relates to the Vesica Piscis and Mary Magdalene Day, which is on the 22nd of July. 22 over 7 gives us pi. So that is what Nikola Tesla was referring to. He was referring to the first shape of geometry. He was referring to the creation and the source code of creation itself. And this really is a magnificent set of numbers. So now I'm going to continue with the theme of pi, but I'm also going to bring in the golden ratio, which is called phi. So again, let me just adjust my seat so you can see the board. So it is a pi-phi connection. Now, when you add up pi and phi, 1.61 times 3.14, you get 5.0, which is the pentagram. It also gives you a pi-phi squared ratio of 6 over 5. Now, this is the secret that is contained within the Egyptian bent pyramid of Deshua. It is the 6-5 pi-phi squared ratio. So when I put the hexagram, the 6 into a circle, which is pi, and I do 360 times 6, the circle times by the hexagram, I get 2160, which is the amount of years that the sun spends in each zodiac in a 25,920 year precession of the equinox. It is also exactly how the North Pole of the planet Saturn looks, because it has a hexagram on its North Pole. So when you look at it from an aerial view, it also gives you the pi-phi squared ratio. Now, we'll go into this part a little bit in other podcasts, but your biblical Elohim is also your pi proportion. But again, I will cover that in a future episode. Now, going back to the Great Pyramid, the Great Pyramid was telling us that pi at 3.141 that we use today in the modern world is slightly too short. Now, if you divide the base of the Great Pyramid, which is 4, by the square root of phi, 1.272, it gives you true pi, which is 3.144. So the Great Pyramid is actually correcting pi for us. Now, when we look at the phi symbol, phi is the golden ratio, which is how nature reveals her secrets to us. This nature of existence is really what Isis of Egypt really is. But if we look at the phi symbol, it relates to the torus field, the spinning torus that almost looks like an apple around the body. So all emanates and returns from and to a place of origin. Now, when you look at the torus field, it emanates from the center and returns to the center. And this is the phi symbol, the torus field. Now, these things are hidden within the everyday language of the world. So let me give you just a few examples. When I mention the word physical, it is really the phi cycle. When we talk about philosophy, it is really the wisdom of phi. And when we look at Philadelphia, it is phi delphos, which is the wisdom of the womb. Now, the uterus has a measurement of 1.6, which is phi. So again, even nature's secrets through the womb, through the torus field, is encrypted within some of the everyday language of the world. Now, the uterus looks very similar to a ram. And a ram is Aries, which is the higher mind in zodiacal man. It is also the index finger that you can see John the Baptist doing behind me. The Priory of Sion is an allegory of Aries, of the lamb. Now, I'm now going to go a little bit more into the Vesica Piscis and the womb. So the word cervix means both neck and uterus. So now we see the Vesica Piscis, which is the source of all geometry. And the firstborn is the triangle. So the Vesica Piscis, the mandorla, the almond, gives us both the triangle and the Christian fish, which I covered last week. So we have the upper womb, which is the mouth, and we have the lower womb, which is the yoni. Together, they are called the divine mirror, the sacred twins, the two mouths. So the upper womb is the mouth, which is the word, and breath. The lower womb is the yoni, which is divine knowing in material form. So we come from the cosmos, we come through our mother's womb, and we have to return back to the cosmic energy, the cosmic wisdom. Now, there are two biblical statements that relate to these sacred twins. The first one is, in the beginning was the word, the upper womb, the mouth, the word and the breath. And we also have the word became flesh, which is the lower womb, the yoni, the divine knowing in materialized form. So these Bible passages are talking about the divine mirror, the mouth and the yoni. Now, going back to the fish, the word fish in the zodiac is Pisces. Now, the first two letters of Pisces is pi. The fish and the triangle, pi, is found within the Vesica Piscis, which is Mary Magdalene. Now, when we see the Illuminati pyramid with the all-seeing eye above, it is also representative of the dome with a window at the top, which is also the womb. Now, this window at the top and the eye, the all-seeing eye above the pyramid, relates to the cosmic eye. And the cosmic eye is a light visible behind the darkness of closed eyes, where you can gaze into the subtler than material realm. This is all symbolized in a public way. So continuing with the pentagram and the hexagram, which gives us 5 and 6, 6 over 5, which I just demonstrated on the previous board. But the word Jesus has 5 letters and the word Christ has 6. So it's talking about the pentagram and the hexagram. Now, when you merge both the pentagram and the hexagram, you get the shape that becomes the mystical lamb with 7 horns. Now, in Revelation 5:6, again, 6 over 5, 5, 6 as a mirror. This is how it tells you that Christ appears. It is just the emergence of 2 shapes amalgamated. And again, the fish relates to the fishes of men, etc., etc. Now I'm going to take you back to the Great Pyramid. Inside the Vesica Piscis, you have a unit from left to right of the mandorla of 153 units. Now the Grand Gallery of the Great Pyramid is 153 feet long. It has 153 steps. Christ's ministry lasted 153 weeks. The name Mary Magdalene in Greek has a numerical value of 153. When you get to the Great Pyramid, the entrance level is on the 17th course level. If you add up all the numbers from 1 to 17, it gives you 153. 153 also gives you 9, which relates to a higher understanding. So, this Vesica Piscis is Mary Magdalene, but also relates to Christ. Now, when you see Mary Magdalene and Christ kissing at the mouth, it relates to the transmission of divine knowledge. So we go inside the Grand Gallery, which is really the vaginal canal. And you have the entrance, which then goes into the vaginal canal and goes through. Now, the Great Pyramid, as I've said, is also an antenna, but so is the womb. The womb is an antenna that is attuned to the divine frequency of creation, which is what the Great Pyramid also represents. So the Great Pyramid is an antenna. Now, there are crystalline stones at the base, which act as the batteries for the antenna. In future podcasts, I will go into the chemical makeup of the limestones of the Great Pyramid, which are electrical voltage storers. So it is a storage for electricity, and it is a perfect antenna through corrected pi. Just like the womb, it is attuned to creation, or the frequency of creation. So what we have to realize is that there are 9 pyramids, and those 9 pyramids are in 3 groups of 3. And that is because it is the trimesters of a 9-month period of gestation. 3 months, 6 months, and 9 months, which gives you the 9 pyramids of Giza. Now, at certain times of the year, when you look at the Great Pyramid from the air, because of the location of the sun and the direction of the sunlight, there are extra indentations that give the Great Pyramid 8 sides. So if we now add those 4 extra sides to the 36 normal sides, we get 40. 40 is the amount of weeks of pregnancy. So the Giza Plateau, amongst other things that I've mentioned, is birth, the 9 months of birth into this world. Normally, you have 9 pyramids of 4 sides, which gives you 36, which is a secret code for the sun. If you add up all the numbers from 1 to 36, it gives you 666. So 666 is actually a follower of light, and it is nothing to do with satanic consciousness. So 9 is the higher understanding, the cosmos. And when we come into this world, the fetus, the baby, is upside down, which gives us the number 6. So number 6 is a mirror of number 9. So you have number 9, which is higher understanding, and you have the number 6, the mirror image, which is man and lower understanding. And what you have to do through various evolutionary processes like initiation, like the evolution of yourself through self-development, you become the number 9 again. You come from spirit to matter, you self-improve, and you go from matter to spirit. And this is why we see lots of leaders and lots of people in public places giving us the womb symbol, because it relates to, as I've just said. Now, to conclude, I shall tell you what the moon really is. So let me just read just a few statements from some prominent people in relation to the moon. You have Isaac Isminov from Boston University that says we cannot help but come to the conclusion that the moon by rights ought not to be there. We then have Erwin Shapiro from Harvard, their Center of Astrophysics, that said the best possible explanation for the moon is observational error. The moon doesn't exist. We then have Mikhail Vasin from the Soviet Academy of Science that says, is the moon a creation of an alien intelligence? I found another from Dr. Gordon MacDonald from NASA that says it would seem that the moon is more like a hollow than an homogeneous sphere. And the reason he says that is that when NASA have struck the moon, it rings like a bell. And the reason that it rings like a bell is because it is hollow. Then we have Carl Sagan, a cosmologist who many of you would have already heard of. But he says a natural satellite cannot be a hollow object. And that's consistent with Dr. Gordon MacDonald when he said it would seem that the moon is more like a hollow. So what they are saying is that their explanation for the moon is that it shouldn't be there. It is too big to be a natural satellite of Earth. It is an anomaly. A lot of people say to me, do you believe that man walked on the moon? And my answer is no, because that's not the moon. And there's good reason for saying that. A number of years ago, I was walking at night through some dense forestry. And at some point during the trek, I looked up at the moon, which was a beautiful full moon in the sky. And I saw with my own eyes a lime green pulsating grid coming from the bottom of the moon towards Earth. And of course, I was naturally curious as to what this may be. So I began to work it out. And I came up with some physics in relation to what I'd seen. So I went on the proviso that the diameter of the moon, or what we believe to be the moon, is 2,159 miles as a diameter, which gives us W equals 13565.4 rad/s, which can be quantified as W equals 2 pi f. W is angular velocity. We can also do, and I did, this quantum equation, which relates to angular velocity, angular position, and time. So the moon that we believe to be the moon tilts the Earth at a 23.5-degree angle. We see this in the jet pillar of Osiris, which is tilted at an angle of 23.5 degrees. You can also see in the Masonic compass, if you turn it upside down, the rotation at the top is 23.5 degrees. So this tilt causes the oceans to be liquid. It gives Earth its seasons. But there are ancient texts that talks about the time before the moon, when the Earth was naturally directly pointing to a north axis, but we were tilted. Why? There was this planetary looking satellite put there, and it was put there to look like a moon, to look like a planet, but it is not a moon and it is not a planet. It is a way station. It is an observational post. We are being monitored from the moon. Now, when I read out Leonardo da Vinci's foreword in my book, The Movement, Illumination of the World, he stated that certain individuals have been sent to Earth to try and assist humanity. One of them being the subject of the start of this podcast, Nikola Tesla. And he also said that we await enlightened souls. So where are they waiting? They are waiting in an advanced soul pool, which is also on the moon. He says that violent, primitive souls, or primitive, violent man, will not be accepted into this soul pool. They will be rejected. So that is what he means by we await. He talks about messages in crop circles. I have found them and I have decoded them. Again, I will go into more detail in future shows. But in essence, the code that I have found within crop circles are a message that were hidden in the diatonic ratios, the sound waves that have created that particular shape. And in essence, the message is telling us how to evolve the soul, how to evolve ourselves in order to be accepted into the galactic community once again. There are more and more people seeing things that they cannot explain in the sky. The CIA, the FBI, departments called above government know that these craft are in our airspace. They have physical evidence of them being in our airspace. I am told by Leonardo da Vinci that in the future, and not the too distant future, UFOs will be in our skies and observable as often as we see aeroplanes in our skies now. But in order for that transition to occur, we have to be drip fed. We have to be open to the possibility of other life. And that is what is happening. Now, when the NASA astronauts were interviewed, one of them said that when we were there, we were warned to leave. Now, this to me is very, very consistent with other bits of information that I've been able to glean. They were not welcome on the moon. It is not the moon in any case. What I have discovered is that 1,250 miles to north of the Earth, there is the true moon, the true Earth's satellite. And it is called, in mystic terms, Lilith. So this is really the true identity of Lilith. And Lilith means of the darkness. And the reason that it is of the darkness is because the original moon is no longer luminous, so we cannot see it. But mathematically, I have mapped it out, and it is there. 1,250 miles to our original north axis, which would have happened in the time before the moon, or should I say, the artificial moon that we believe to be the moon. So, as I say, it is a way station. It is an observational post. It contains an advanced soul pool. It has Egyptian obelisks on the ocean of storms. It has many things that relate to Earth. So why does it tip Earth at a 23.5-degree angle? Again, I am told that in the future, Earth's dimensions will be split. And what's meant by that is the people who have not evolved, the people who have made no effort to evolve, will remain in this timeline, will remain in this Earth's dimension. But those who can think, those who wish to advance, those who wish to return to the galactic community will be placed into a different timeline, placed into a different dimension of Earth, a higher dimension of Earth, almost a dimension within a dimension, a half dimension, if you will. And what will cause that? The 23.5-degree tilt from the artificial moon that was created to look like a moon. So today, I've covered in brief Christ, Mary Magdalene, Pi, Phi, which is nature's secrets. I've covered a little about the Great Pyramid, and I've covered Nikola Tesla, again in brief, and I've also spoken about the moon. Of course, all of these things are connected. Every single subject that I speak about is connected to the one before, is connected to the one after, is connected to the next week, which is connected to the week after, and so on. It is all the same theme. We have been left the breadcrumbs, the seed of knowledge, in our monuments, in our structures, in our monoliths, in our mystical writings, in our religious books that have been completely misunderstood. At their origin, they all speak of the same thing. It is the illumination of humanity. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking again next week.